no one was ever converted into theosophy. Each one who really comes into it does so because it is only an extension of previous beliefs. This will show you that karma is a true thing, for no idea we get is any more than an extension of previous ones. That is, they are cause and effect in endless succession. Each one is a producer of the next, and inheres in that successor. Thus we are all different and some similar. My ideas of today and yours are tinged with those of youth, and we will thus forever proceed on the inevitable line we have marked out in the beginning. We of course alter a little always, but never until our old ideas are extended. Those false ideas now and then discarded are not to be counted, yet they give a shadow here and there. But through brotherhood we receive the knowledge of others, which we consider until it is ours, if it fits us. As far as your private conclusions are concerned, use your discrimination always. Do not adopt any conclusions merely because they are uttered by one in whom you have confidence, but adopt them when they coincide with your intuition. To be even unconsciously deluded by the influence of another is to have a counterfeit faith. Spiritual knowledge includes every action. Inquirers ought to read the Bhagavad Gita. It will give them food for centuries if they read with spiritual eyes at all. Underneath its shell is a living spirit that will light us all. I read it 10 times before I saw things that I did not see at first. In the night, the ideas contained in it are digested and returned partly next day to the mind. It is a study of adepts. Let no man be unaware that while there is a great joy in this belief, there is also a great sorrow. Being true, being the law, all the great forces are set in motion by the student. He now thinks he has given up ambition and comfort. The ambition and comfort he has given up are those of the lower plane, the mere reflections of the great ambitions and comforts of a larger life. The rays of truth burn up the covers time has placed upon those seeds, and then the seeds begin to sprout and cause new struggles. Do not leave any earnest inquirer in ignorance of this. It has cost others many years and tears of blood to self-learn it. How difficult the path of action is. I see the future dimly, and unconsciously in such case one makes efforts either for or against it. Then karma results. I could almost wish I did not hear these whispers, but he who conquers himself is greater than the conquerors of words. Perhaps you see more clearly now how karma operates. If one directs himself to eliminating all old karma, the struggle very often becomes tremendous, for the whole load of ancient sin rushes to the front on man, and the events succeed each other rapidly. The strain is terrific, and the whole life fabric groans and rocks. As is said in the East, you may go through the appointed course in 700 births, in 7 years, or in 7 minutes. The sentence in Light on the Path, referred to by so many students, is not so difficult as some others. One answer will do for all. The book is written on the basis of reincarnation, and when it says the soiled garment will fall again on you, it means that this will happen in some other life, not necessarily in this, though that may be too. To turn away in horror is not detachment. Before we can hope to prevent any particular state of mind or events reaching us in this or in another life, we must in fact be detached from those things. Now we are not our bodies or mere minds, but the real part of us in which karma inheres. Karma brings everything about. It attaches to our real inner selves by attachment and repulsion. That is, if we love vice or anything, it seizes on us by attachment thereto. If we hate anything, it seizes on our inner selves by reason of the strong horror we feel for it. In order to prevent a thing, we must understand it. We cannot understand while we fear or hate it. We are not to love vice, but are to recognize that it is a part of the whole, and trying to understand it, we thus get above it. This is the doctrine of opposites, spoken of in Bhagavad Gita. So if we turn in horror now from the bad, the future life will feel that horror and develop it by reaction into a reincarnation in a body and a place where we must in material life go through the very thing we hate now. As we are striving to reach God, we must learn to be as near like Him as possible. He loves and hates not, so we must strive to regard the greatest vice as being something we must not hate, while we will not engage in it. And then we may approach that state where we will know the greater love that takes in good and evil men and things alike. Good and evil are only the two poles of the one thing. In the absolute, evil is the same thing in this way. One with absolute knowledge can see both good and evil, but he does not feel evil to be a thing to flee from, and thus he has to call it merely the other pole. We see good or evil as certain events seem pleasant or unpleasant to us or our present civilization, and so we have coined those two words. They are bad words to use, for in the absolute, one is just as necessary as the other, and often what seem evil and pain are not absolutely so, but only necessary adjustments in the progress of the soul. Read Bhagavad Gita as to how the self seems to suffer pain. What is evil now? Loss of friends? No, if you are self-centered. Slander? Not if you rely on karma. There is only evil when you rebel against immutable decrees that must be worked out. You know that there must be this balancing which we call good and evil. Just imagine one man who really was a high soul, now living as a miser and enjoying it. You call it an evil, he a good. Who is right? You say evil because you are speaking out of the true, but the true did know that he could never have passed some one certain point unless he had that experience, and so we see him now in an evil state. Experience we must have, and if we accept it at our own hands, we are wise. That is, while striving to do our whole duty to the world and ourselves, We will not live the past over again by vain and hurtful regrets, nor condemn any man, whatever his deeds, since we cannot know their true cause. We are not karma, we are not the law, and it is a species of that hypocrisy so deeply condemned by it for us to condemn any man. That the law lets a man live is proof that he is not yet judged by that higher power. Still, we must and will keep our discriminating power at all times. As to rising above good and evil, that does not mean to do evil, of course. But in fact, there can be no real evil or good. If our aim is right, our acts cannot be evil. Now our acts are dead when done. It is in the heart that they are conceived and are already there done. The mere bodily carrying out of them is a dead thing in itself. So we may do a supposed good act, and that shall outwardly appear good, and yet as our motive perhaps is wrong. The act is not, but the motive counts. The great God did all, good and bad alike. Among the rest are what appear evil things, yet he must be unaffected. So if we follow Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter, we must do only those acts we believe right for the sake of God, and not for ourselves. And if we are regardless of the consequences, we are not concerned if they appear to be good or evil. As the heart and mind are the real planes of error, it follows that we must look to it that we do all acts merely because they are there to be done. It then becomes difficult only to separate ourselves from the act. We can never as human beings rise above being the instruments through which that which is called good and evil comes to pass. But as that good and evil are the result of comparison and are not in themselves absolute, it must follow that we, the real we, must learn to rise internally to a place where these occurrences appear to us merely as changes in a life of change. So the student comes to see that he is not to do either good or evil, but to do any certain number of acts set before him, and meanwhile not ever to regard much his line of conduct, but rather his line of motive. For his conduct follows necessarily from his motive. Let us extend help to all who come our way. This will be true progress. The veils that come over our souls fall away when we work for others. Let that be the real motive, and the quality of work done makes no difference.